Well, you worked for the World Bank for a better part of 20 years. You are an Ivy League trained attorney. You went to Ivy League school. I think you went to Yale. You work for the World Bank as a lawyer. You're a banker, and you were a whistleblower inside the World Bank, not just one time, but several times. It crescendoed with a big, almost $1 billion, whistleblowing fraud, malfeasance in the World Bank in Indonesia. And for that, you got a pink slip in 2009. Congratulations, my dear.
Thank you.
You are one of the good people. Tell me how the rest of the world is looking at our Federal Reserve and our banking system and how the U.S. is acting in the global world of finance.
Well, their game is up. When they were signed on 100 years ago, President Wilson knew that he had sold the United States downstream, and he really regretted it. And there were a couple of presidents who tried to set things straight. And both of those ended up assassinated. One of them was JFK. One of them was Abraham Lincoln. There's a very accurate study that was done by the Federal Institute of Technology. They used data showing who owns all of the world's corporations, 43,000 of them. And they showed that there is a group of thugs that have bought these companies up and controls them behind the scenes. A lot of this is secret. You won't read about it in the press because they bought up the media. So the stories that people are hearing every day from their favorite newscast, this is all, what those companies want you to know, not what the reality is. And a lot of people are onto this. I think the latest survey about the trust of the American people in their media, it's tanked. It's, most people, more than a majority, knows that they're being systematically lied to by these thugs. So anyway, getting back to the Federal Reserve and the Bank for International Settlements, these groups are in cahoots with the biggest crooks of all, the Jesuits that bought up Bank of America, and they have little secret deals to try to apportion the riches of the world. And in the meantime, all of the countries of the world know that this thievery is going on, and we have been working together. I've been writing all of the ambassadors for the last 5 years since I was fired illegally. They knew I was their lawyer. They knew I was telling them the truth. And I said, you're not going to get away with this. And there's a group of World Bank whistleblowers from different countries. We are talking about the biggest thuggery of all, and that is the Jesuits in the Vatican. And one of the things I have just found out,
well, because the new Pope is a Jesuit, right?
That's right. And what
there
these people have done.
And there have been reports, published reports of the allegations of the Vatican laundering money on a grand scale. I haven't heard too much about that recently, but that's I think that was before their most recent Pope got put in there. But yes, I mean, they have some sin there, don't they?
Greg, I'm going to tell you something which I just found out about, because let me step back a little bit and say how I got involved in all of this. They say follow the money. That's what I did. I saw that people were being lied to about the money, and you're not allowed to do that. When bonds are issued on the capital markets, and I bought a World Bank bond, you're entitled to accurate financial statements, and they were not being audited according to the auditing standards. So I sued the World Bank, and I sued KPMG, and then 188 ministers of finance settled my lawsuit. But I couldn't get that thing implemented. So I was trying to find out why not. And let me tell you what I just found out. I always thought that the CIA was the problem and the other intelligence agencies. Guess what? There's a grand intelligence agency that the Vatican puts out, and all of those other crooks are operating under the Vatican intelligence agency.
That's
what's going on.
The money is about the control, and the Vatican intelligence agency, the World Intelligence Agency, they're talking about we're fighting over money, over what money we're going to use, and who controls the money.
That's the thing I'm saying, Greg. They're not fighting. They've all agreed. The fighting is what we're led to believe. They're all in cahoots. Just like all the banks are in cahoots, all of these intelligence agencies are in cahoots too. So we are completely being bamboozled. It's like a big theater of the absurd for the world. And in the meantime, every single citizen is getting ripped off, big time. It's all an agreed. I was going to mention about what Mark told me about Syria.
Uh-huh.
What's really going on is that there's natural gas, but you have to have a pipeline to get it to the market. So Qatar, which has all this natural gas, wanted to run a pipeline through Syria, and then they were going to reach the European market. Well, who's supplying the European market with gas?
The Russians.
The Russians. Okay. Saudi Arabia went to the Russians and said, if you stop protecting Syria, then we're going to sell you arms for cheap. And Russia said, no, I want my market for natural gas in Europe. So all of this business about dead babies and sarin gas, that is just all to keep us confused. Everything that's going on in the news is simply to keep us confused. We don't need to be confused. What we need to do is we need to turn around to these crooks, with the crooks at the very top, and we need to say, no. Well, you're not going to rip us off anymore.
Well,
We've had enough.
I know you speak fondly of the president, and he is my president, and I have respect for the office, but he has signed into law the NDAA, where you can, drag somebody off and hold them intentionally, and, any quote-unquote terrorist. He has made all these drone strikes. I mean, his Justice Department just put Jesse Jackson Jr. in jail, and not a single one of these bankers has been tried, including people who have done money laundering for drug cartels and for people on the terror watch list. We have Jesse Jackson Jr. in jail for 30 months for $750,000, and John Corzine allegedly stole $1 billion. So, these guys are running wild.
He's an actor. He's told to play his part.
Well, that's sad.
It is, but everybody is an actor.
Let me back up here. You're telling me the president is just an actor, just somebody to play a role, and don't get in our way. You're really not the president. We say you are, but you're not.
What I'm trying to say is that those presidents of ours who refused to go along with these crooks' agenda got murdered. All of them. And so there's a little bit of leeway, and they're doing what they can. And don't forget, we have to play our part, which is we have to admit that we have been bamboozled, and we're not going to be bamboozled anymore. And we will then take back what's ours. We won't let the crooks continue to rob us.
But this is
We've got a role to play.
This is going to be a painful process. I mean, they're going to come out and say, "Oh, you want your accounts insured? Well, you have to take a bail-in. Do you want your?" I mean, this is what they're going to say. This is what they said over in Cyprus, which a lot of people say the IMF was involved, the ECB was involved, that this was a test market, Cyprus, and you want your insured deposits? Well, you have to agree to bail-ins, you have to agree to haircuts, you have to agree to all this stuff. And
that is only, Greg, if we stay stuck at one level of the theater. We don't have to stay stuck at that level. We can go up to the different level, which is what I'm telling you. Not just the central bankers don't know that their IRS revenue is going to the Vatican. They don't know that the municipalities are pre-funding their pensions for billions of dollars when it's unnecessary. We have got to sit down and we've got to follow the money and figure out where it's going and say, okay, that's our money, that's not your money, and we have to take it back. That's all. What we're fighting about two things. We're fighting about control, but the better way to describe it is we're fighting about love. We're fighting about whether we love our fellow man and whether we have self-respect. That's the real issue that we're dealing with here. And if you then think about the people that we are entrusting to be our spiritual leaders, who are actually doing the opposite. They're heading all of the spy agencies of the world and bamboozling all of us. We have got to sit down and sort things out.
Could there be, I'm going to get down to granular level, down to the street level, down to the individual level. Could there be bail-ins? Could people lose their insured deposits? Could people lose money? Could the stock market crash?
No.
Is
That's
any of that
not
going to
what
happen?
we're dealing with. That's not what we're dealing with.
Do what?
No, that's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with whether we continue as humanity and have an earth or whether we blow ourselves up. That's what we're dealing with. That's the issue. Whether we love ourselves and each other enough to save the world or whether we're all going to go to hell in a handbasket. That's what this is about.